So action taken after analyzing root causes, corrective action. So now coming to 4.11, which is preventive action. So what is preventive action? So preventive action is where you are expecting any potential problems to happen and you take the action beforehand only, before the problem happens. It may be as simple as you are getting your lab cleaned, bathrooms of the lab cleaned. Okay, what is this? This is a preventive action. You are not waiting for somebody to complain about and then take the action. You are running quality controls every day in the lab. What is it? It's a preventive action because you feel if the controls are not run properly, my results may go wrong. Okay, you are wearing apron. It's a preventive action. You are trying to prevent any spillage over your clothes. So there are so many preventive actions which we are taking in our day-to-day routine. So you have to keep identifying more and more. See where are the areas where problems may happen and you take the action beforehand. Quality in itself, implementation of quality is a preventive action. We are wanting to avoid so many problems which otherwise could have happened if we don't implement these standards, right? Again you have to have a documented procedure, please underline. Now your preventive actions or your potential NCs will depend upon data. How will you come to know about preventive action? Everyday, from everyday things, you know, how the things are happening in the lab. Once you have a data, you will be able to design your preventive actions, right? Mostly preventive actions, for preventive actions, there are two things which are very important. Have you heard about the word risk management? So what do? You do risk analysis in the lab. Whatever are the areas where there is a high risk of problems happening, so you will have a lot of preventive actions in those areas. Two analysis, risk analysis and trend analysis, lead on to preventive action designing. Now risk analysis will depend upon two things, again very important. One is severity and another is frequency. So these two things, severity and frequency, if supposing severity of a problem is more and it's frequent also, that means the risk is maximum. If severity is low, frequency is low, risk is minimum. So you have to place everything in between. You can do a scoring, you know, maybe you have given score 10 or 5, let us say 10 score to maximum severity, 10 score to maximum frequency, and on the other side 0, 0. So then you can fix up various activities according to the score, that in this activity severity is 5 and frequency is 2. So 5 into 2, 10 is the risk score, that is known as risk score. So if it is 10, 10 in both, so it becomes 100 is the risk score, right? So severity multiplied by frequency will give you the risk score, and accordingly you have to make a scoreboard for high risk areas and low risk areas. And where the risk areas are high, you need to take preventive action. You need to make them indicators. Wherever you will make indicators, that means you are taking more and more preventive actions and corrective actions in that direction, right? So this is how you have to do. Second, I told you trend analysis. So what does that mean? What is trend analysis?
Positive bias. I can show the Your trend is negative or positive?
So one thing is risk analysis, second is trend analysis. Trend is if something is going towards one direction. Okay. For example, in your equus, you found particular value was outlier or not outlier, it was near the mean. Second time it has gone beyond, then it has gone beyond. Now you are expecting third time it will become an outlier. So you will take the action there because you have seen there is a trend. So same can happen in many activities in the lab. If there is a trend, you will take preventive actions. Okay. So actions are again the same. You will evaluate the need for preventive action. You will determine and implement the action, record the results of the action, review the effectiveness of the action. Preventive action is a proactive process for identifying opportunities for improvement rather than a reaction to the identification of a problem or complaint or NC. So anything which happens after the problem is where you need corrective action. Anything where you are proactively looking for a problem, it's preventive action. So this has to be very clear. In addition to review of operational procedures, preventive action might involve analysis of data, including trend and risk analysis, and your external quality assessments. So corrective action, preventive action is clear. Now we come to clause 4.12, which is continuous improvement. Lab shall continuously improve effectiveness of QMS, including pre-examination, examination, post-examination process through management reviews to compare the lab's actual performance in its evaluation activities. Corrective and preventive actions with its intention as stated in the quality policy and quality objectives. So basically what is continuous improvement? That with every review you have to compare it with the previous and see where have we reached. Whether they are through quality indicators, whether they are through management meetings, whether they are through audits, you have to see how close we are reaching to the quality policy. As I told you earlier, the goal is to reach the policy. So how many objectives we have achieved, how many indicators we have achieved, how close we are to the policy. Where there are highest risk, you should focus your continuous improvement towards those areas which are high at risk. Action plans for improvement shall be developed, documented, implemented. Effectiveness of actions taken shall be determined through focus review or audit. Then participation into continuous improvement activities like various CMEs, conferences, trainings, how we have to keep improving the lab. They all will come under continuous improvement. So all activities to measure our problems, all activities to correct our problems, all knowledge gained to improve upon certain things will come under continuous improvement. Is it clear? Everything will focus on your goal. Methods are by risk assessment, trend analysis, audits. You will keep on improving. 4.30 Control of records. What was 4.3? Control of documents. 13 is control of records. We have already discussed the difference between document and records. So lab shall have again a procedure, documented procedure for identification, collection, indexing, storage, maintenance, amendment, disposal of quality and technical records. So that means when you are writing a QSP or a procedure, these will become the headings. How will you identify records, identification, how you have given them numbers, how you are collecting the records, how you are making an index of record, how you are storing, where are you storing, how you are amending if it is required, how you are disposing of, how you are retrieving your reports, how you are storing, everything will become a part of the procedure. So if you see in the standard itself, first line will be lab shall have a documented procedure, and procedure will include is given. So when you are writing a QSP, you just have to incorporate those points and then use your common sense what actually you are doing in the lab for that particular process. Records shall be created concurrently with the performance of each activity that affects the quality of examination. Records can be in any type, soft copy, hard copy. Are you people keeping hard copies of the reports also? These days nobody keeps, everything is in the soft copy form, and soft copies you can keep for years together, so there is no problem. The only thing is you should know how to look for an old report. Date where relevant time of amendment to records shall be captured along with the identity of the person making any kind of a change. Lab shall define the time period various records pertaining to quality have to be kept. So you have to define that we will keep the reports for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. But in certain things it is mandatory and it is defined again in NABL 112. For example, histopathology 5 years. So grossing specimen, cytology records, molecular records, genetics records, there is a table given in the document 112, which you can follow that for a particular kind of records how much time period is required. So there is a table given for retention of records, period for retention of records, and there is a table given for period of retention of the sample also, for how long a sample should be kept in the lab. That you have to follow 112. So he is given the example, for example, genetic, pediatrics records may be required to keep for longer time. So storage, what is important in storage? If you are storing in soft copies, what is important? Soft copy, that your data should be safe somewhere, you should not be losing the data, keep it in a hard disk somewhere else or keep a backup, because it should not be that you were keeping the records and server is gone, so everything is gone. So keep copies on the hard disk, or these days they are kept on cloud also. If it is hard copy record, then it should not be placed where there is access to water or there can be rats or anything which can spoil the data. So you have to be careful about the storage. What are the types of records? So I will just go through quickly. When you are actually maintaining the records, then you have to go step by step that these records have to be kept with us. Supplier records, staff qualification, training, competence records, request for examination, that is TRF records, records of receipt of samples in the lab, information on reagents and materials used, lab workbooks, worksheets, instrument printouts, retained data and information, examination results and reports, instrument maintenance record, calibration function records, conversion factor records, quality control record, incident record, accident records, risk management records, NCs identified, immediate and corrective action taken records, preventive action, complaints, internal external audits, interlab comparisons, records of quality improvement results, minutes of meeting, records of management review, all of these and the technical records shall be available for lab management review. So this is a long list, and you know you all are already keeping all these records. It's only now you need to label them properly, keep them at a proper place, file them properly, so that whenever you require they are available. And if you are not keeping, then you have to keep these records. Whatever mentioned again in the standard becomes must. If some records they have not mentioned but you are still keeping, it's your choice. But if they mention not keeping, then compliance, non-compliance. Now this clause is very important. What is it? Evaluation and audits. So you have implemented all the steps, okay, from 1 till 13, everything you have done. You have documented, you have made SOPs, QSPs for various processes, taken actions, identified complaints, identified non-compliances, everything is done. Now how will you evaluate that by doing all these things, is my lab's quality improving? So that kind of a evaluation is in this clause. So there are various methods given, how will you evaluate. Lab shall have a plan and implement the evaluation and internal audit process needed to. So this is very important, especially for new people, because you are going to be what? Quality managers, internal auditors. So for internal auditors, how to conduct audit and what all to review. Review is like a audit, so what all to be reviewed, at what frequency, with what angle is very important for you. So lab shall demonstrate pre-examination, post-examination, examination and supporting processes are being conducted in a manner that meets the need of the requirement, ensure conformity to QMS, continuously improve the effectiveness of QMS. So wherever the audit is, actually what we are checking, is it complying to the standard? Is quality management system being followed properly, and is it continuously improving? Are you becoming better than the previous? This is what you need to keep comparing. That is what is audit, why we are doing audit. So result of evaluation and improvement activities shall be included in the input to the management review. So now see clause by clause. First thing, how we evaluate? Periodic review of requests and their suitability of procedures and sample requirements. Authorized people will periodically review the examinations provided by the lab to ensure that they are clinically appropriate for the test received. So first area comes at the sample collection. So you will see whatever tests, whatever methods you are using are as per the requirement of the patient, as per the requirement of the clients. Then how much sample you are taking, if the fluid has to be taken or tissue has to be taken, in what method, in what quantity, what are the requisitions which are coming, whether you are doing all the tests or not. If you are not doing, what are you outsourcing, what are the tests which you can tomorrow start if the load increases. So all this assessment is first step of evaluating the performance. Then comes second step, assessment of the user feedback. So how do you assess the user feedback? What will you do? You said that your lab is taking feedbacks. So what do you do with those feedbacks then?
All the feedback from suggestion box and go through whatever the common complaints we are.
So that means you are setting up a frequency that once a week we will take out all the feedbacks and then see where are we good, where are we bad, where we are bad we will improve upon those areas. So that is direct feedback from the clients. So that is another method. Then third is staff suggestions. So your staff itself can give you so many suggestions where you can improve. Okay. So little things. The total staff of yours starting from class 4 to the top has to be trained to do their jobs. And once they are trained, then they are implementing. Then during implementation automatically they will find out where are the issues, where are the problems. So it might be just a sweeper. He might come out with a problem, sir, we are throwing this material like this, whereas this is not the right way. So and so person complains about it, or this should be put into a particular colored bag which we are not doing. Things like that. So anything can be a feedback. Then comes internal audit. Lab shall conduct internal audit at planned intervals to determine whether all activities in QMS including pre-examination, examination, post-examination conform to the standard. That's first thing. QMS is implemented and effective and maintained. So this is the purpose of audit. Then how frequently should be internal audit done? According to NABL, it's once in a year. Once in a year, it's a must. But the advice is when it is the beginning of the implementation of the program. Okay. So in the beginning, do it more frequently. You should be doing it more frequently. Maybe every 2 months, 3 months. Then keep on increasing the gaps, decreasing the frequency. Because initially there are more NCs. You find more NCs, you will take corrective action, more NCs, corrective action, so improvement will happen. Audits shall be conducted by trained people. That is why it has been made mandatory that anybody who is going to do internal audit has to be trained and certified, that he understands what is audit process and he understands what standard is. Because in audit you have to see whether you are complying to the standard or not. If you don't know the standard, how will you audit? So that is why this training is a must. Audit criteria, scope, frequency, method shall be defined and documented. So again you have to write a QSP on internal audit, how to conduct internal audit. There is a procedure. Selection of auditors, conduct of auditors, objectivity, impartiality. So everything has to be a part of the process. Auditors shall, whenever resource permits, be independent of the activity to be audited. Means if you are doing histopath reporting, so you will not audit your own activity. You will audit others' activity. Your activity will be audited by another person. Lab shall have a documented procedure, we already talked about, to define responsibility, requirement for planning, conducting, reporting the results, the outcome of the audit, and then maintaining the records of audit findings and their corrective actions. Personnel responsible for the area being audited shall ensure the appropriate action is promptly undertaken when NCs are identified. Corrective action shall be taken without undue delay. We will have a separate full session on internal audit day after, how the audit has to be conducted, and we will do some mock audits also. Okay. Risk management, again we have already talked about, that is another method to evaluate. We are talking about what? Evaluation and audits. So internal audit was also one method, now risk management. So you will analyze, as I told you earlier, depending upon severity and frequency. Frequency and severity, analyze risk, make a risk score, find out high risk areas, take action and evaluate them time to time. Now comes quality indicators. So there is a separate clause for quality indicators now, which was not there earlier. 2007 didn't have any clause for quality indicator. So lab shall establish quality indicators to monitor and evaluate performance throughout critical aspects of all the processes. Some examples, can you give me some examples of indicators which you are commonly following in your labs? Sample rejection criteria. What else?
IQC.
Follow up of IQC,
Right.
turnaround time, critical alerts. So again, as I told you, plenty of areas, every area you can have a clinic. Wherever you want to improve, you can keep it as an indicator and follow it. How is it behaving? How to improve that? Then process of monitoring indicators shall be planned, which includes establishing the objectives. What do you want to achieve? How? The method of following the indicator. Then interpretation of that indicator, limits, action plan and duration of measurement. You will keep it for 3 months or 6 months, or you will check it every month for next 6 months. Howsoever you want to follow, you have to plan it, design it. Indicators will be periodically reviewed to see their continuous appropriateness. Again, as I told you, whatever indicator is appropriate, follow with that. Where you have achieved excellence, leave it then. There is no point every time you saying 0 error, 0 error, 0 error, you are at the top. So leave it, find out some other indicator, because problems keep happening, no lab is perfect. Indicators to monitor non-examination procedures such as lab safety, environment, completeness of equipment, personal records, effectiveness of document control system may provide valuable management insights. Now these indicators are not of examination, not from examination area, but from pre and post. Control records, are you keeping the records properly? So you can keep an indicator of personal records. Are your files of all the employees are maintained properly? All the documents which are required are there or not? So this is an indicator. Machine maintenance records, an indicator. Lab shall establish indicators for systematically monitoring and evaluating lab's contribution to patient care. Lab in consultation with the user shall establish turnaround time. Earlier we discussed lab in consultation with the user will decide about outsourcing lab. Now decide about turnaround time. Why now user is important to decide turnaround time?
He is the one who knows some days maybe take much time.
See, turnaround time, when you are defining, you are not defining case to case. You are defining maybe parameter to parameter, that okay, for this parameter my turnaround is 3 hours, for this parameter 6 hours, this parameter 2 days. So why in consultation with the user? Because what is their requirement, which will change depending upon the type of facility. If it is a cardiac hospital, let us say, so all the cardiac parameters they will want quickly. So send me these cardiac parameters in as early as possible. They might not be bothered about the renal parameters. If it is a kidney hospital, they will say send me the kidney parameters first, they are not bothered about the rest of the parameters. Okay. So it depends upon what kind of services you are dealing with. Okay. So that is why it is important to have the turnaround time along with the user. So how your physician wants. So you have to define. Yes, you can't meet all the needs of the physician. If he says histopathology report I want in 2 hours, can you give? You can't. So there is a minimum time period which you will take, but if the demand of a hospital or a facility is like that, so you have to put all your focus how you can improve or cut short the time in that particular area. So this is what it means. Then next is review by external organizations. So which are the external organizations which review your lab? NABL is one organization. NABH can also be, yes. CAP. So these are all accreditation bodies. Who else? If you are on a CGHS panel, it may be CGHS team. If you are on a corporate panel, their team to audit your lab or evaluate your lab. So, any kind of external organizations whom you are dealing with is coming and evaluating your lab, that will become review by external organization. Again, you have to keep records for all these. Okay. So, there were multiple points how you have to evaluate your laboratory, which is the most important clause for you people. Can we just repeat once quickly? First was periodic review of requests. Second was assessment of user feedback. Then staff suggestions. Then internal audit. Then risk management. Then quality indicators. So you have to know thoroughly about all these and you have to keep records of all these. Then review by external organization. So now we come to the last clause, which is management review. Lab management shall review quality management system at planned intervals to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy and effectiveness and in support of patient care. So what is the frequency normally required? Once in a year is the requirement by NABL. So NABL says once in a year internal audit. Internal audit will be followed by management review. Always management reviews after the audit. Okay. Audit people will find out certain issues, they will close certain things will be open which need to be closed by the management. If you are short of some equipment, short of manpower, you can't close it. You will have to take it to the management and they will close it. Okay. So, for management review, there is a review input. So, when we say review input, the input to management review shall include the information from the results of evaluation of at least these following. And if you see what are these? Same. Assessment of user feedback, staff suggestions, internal audits, risk management, use of quality indicator. Whatever was the output of the internal audit or evaluation process, that is coming to management review. Review by external organization and other things. Results of participation in ILC. Monitoring and resolution of complaints. Performance of suppliers. Identification and control of non-conformances. Results of continuous improvement including current status of the corrective action, preventive action. Follow-up action from the previous management review. Changes in the volume and scope of work, personal and premises, that could affect the quality management system. If anything major like these is required, that you need to change the scope, means you need to add on certain tests, you need to add on equipment, manpower or infrastructure, that will also come to management. Management review means once in a year a meeting where everything about the lab should come in front of the management. So how do you conduct a management review meeting? As it is written, feedback forms, okay, complaints. Would you take all the complaint registers to the management? You will take all the feedback forms to the management. So how will you go prepared to the management review meeting?
As earlier, we have to evaluate everything first.
Evaluate and make a summary of that.
And then we have to note down, we have to document it. These all are our major problems and we have to resolve.
So you have to first summarize everything with yourself. You have to make a presentation. You have to, if there are feedbacks, so put them in such a way that it comes out as 1 or 2 slides only. Okay. These were the positive feedbacks, so we performed good in these areas. These were the negative feedbacks. So this area we think we need management's help. Most of the areas you will handle yourself, but this feedback area, negative feedback area, we need management cell. Same would be complaints, same would be other things. Okay. So management review meeting, if it is going to happen once in a year, how much time? 2 hours, 3 hours, not more than that. So within those 3 hours you have to give inputs of the whole year. So you have to compile and present in such a way, and mostly that presentation is done by quality manager. So you have to be very clear and focused. What do you want from management? So you have to talk about good also, you have to talk about bad also. You need manpower, you have to show them figures. You need machine, you need to show them figures. And what figures affect the management the maximum? Financial figures. So you have to show them, because of this, not having this machine or having multiple problems with this machine, we lost so many patients, which lost so much of revenue. If we had this machine, we could have recovered this much money. That language is better understandable by any management, because that is their concern also. Okay. So if there are good feedbacks, you have to highlight those to get that praise also. Okay. Recommendations for improvement, including technical requirements. So all these will go as inputs. The review shall analyze the input information for the causes of the NCs, trends, patterns that indicate process problems. Review shall include assessing these opportunities for improvements and need for the change to the QMS, including quality, policy and objective. So if you have to make any change in policy, what is the time? Now, at the time of management review, because that happens once in a year. Any change in objectives? Better now, in meeting with the management. Then activities will be designed, that okay, this machine needs replacement. Who will replace in how much time? So that becomes what? Output. Output from the MR shall be incorporated into a record that documents any decisions made and actions taken during MR related to improvement of the effectiveness of QMS and its process, improvement of service to the user and resource need. So that becomes your minutes of meeting, minutes of management review meeting. Interval, as we talked, 12 months. In the beginning you can have shorter intervals for audits as well as for MR. When you have just started implementing, then shorter intervals. Once established, once in a year. Findings and actions arising from MR shall be recorded and reported to the lab staff. Lab management shall ensure that actions arising from the management review are completed within a defined time frame. Now, as I told you about the management review, so this, when you are creating the minutes of the meeting, okay, so for the minutes of the meeting, you have to first write which was a major non-conformance, then you have to write the action which management has agreed to, okay, then who will take the action, the person and the time frame. So this is very important. Your findings, and then tabulate it in a manner that, because you have to make that management review report, so it should cover these things. Supposing it was replacement of a hematology machine. So NC was problem in hematology machine, action to be replaced, head of hematology department in the next 3 months, right? And then you can even leave a column where you written after 3 months done or still pending. Okay, so this will then complete your review. So is everything clear so far? We have covered all the clauses of management review. So if you see, the management review was a very, very general thing about the management. There was nothing technical specific. Okay. But what was important was the QSPs. So we'll once again revise how many QSPs are required, which we need to make. 4.1 clause, did it have any QSP? 4.1, did it ask for any procedure? No, it was, documents were there, documents are different, procedures are different. You need to have the document of your registration, you have to have, you know, your organization charts, you have to have the job profiles of people, but there is no procedure. First procedure is in clause 4.3, which is document control. The next procedure is 4.4, service agreement. Then 4.5, examination by referral laboratories. Then external services and supplies. Then resolution of complaints. Then identification of non-conformances. Then corrective actions, preventive actions, control of records and internal audit. So how many procedures? 10 procedures. So if you have not written any of these procedures, it becomes a non-conformance, right? So when audit happens, it's a major non-conformance not to write a procedure asked by the standard. So this was all about.
Can you show this diagram?
Yeah.
This previous.
You can also focus on this. So these are various quality system procedures for management clauses. So can we once revise all the clauses again? Number 1. No. That's clause. I'm not talking about clause 1. I'm talking about clause 4.1. 4.1 is organization and management responsibility. 4.2.
Document control. Record of document.
Quality management system. 4.3. Document control. 4.4. Service agreements. 4.5. By referral labs. 4.6. Services and supplies. 4.7. 4.8. 4.9. 4.10. 11. 12. Identification of 12. What is 12? Continuous improvement. 13. 14. 15. Management review. Is it okay now? So these 15 clauses you have to remember by heart, right? I am sure by 4th day you all will remember very clearly. So completed all the management clauses. Now there is exercise 1 with you. So in exercise 1 you have been given various scenarios. Go through the scenario and in front of every scenario you have to write the clause it belongs to, that it fits into which clause. You can use your standard, you can open the standard, see this scenario is written in this clause. First choose the main clause, then see what subclause, and then if there is any A, B, C, D point. So go to that extent, right? But the main clause has to be correct. So don't write like this that it is a scenario with corrective action and you are writing it in organization and responsibility. Okay, so that has to be perfect. You have to write the correct number of that
only
clause.
Main clause, not sub
No,
clause.
main also, sub clause also, and even below that sub clause as well. Okay, exactly where it belongs to. But your main clause has to be right. That is very important. That you can't do wrong now. Alright. So this exercise, once you have completed, then we will discuss it whenever we next meet, and then on that discussion we will find out how much is your performance on a particular and how much you have grasped and understood about the various clauses.